What is up, down, and sideways, all you beautiful individuals? It is another epi of League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you fine feather folks for the return of the third best region in the world. LCK back on the Rift, delivering us some intriguing series. And gonna preface all these series, I feel like the LCK, more than other regions, people overreact to a single series, more glaringly so than any other region.
I think that is the fact, but it also comes with the territory of having the success that the LCK has had, that people want to take any type of action, any type of movement up or down, whatever type of way for these players and organizations. It's going to be a story, and I think that is absolutely the case. No question after day one in the LCK, because not only did we get the telecom war, but we had a team go from 10th place to first place in one game. Crazy.
That's why we're overreacting. It's the sweeping changes that you get in a single series. And of course, you might overreact a little when you see a near perfect game happening. 24-minute win, only a single turret. And of course, it's in the telecom war. And T1 just putting their boot down on KT again. That's what. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's T1 getting bodied in this first game.
That's the crazy thing. You start that sentence, you start listing it out, and of course, everyone's predicting, everyone's thinking, yeah, you're talking about T1. They came out of the gates roaring, ripping, and ready after over a month away from the professional stage. Except it wasn't T1 that was doing that. It was KT Rolster, and yes, as you said it in that first game, perfect was perfect all the way in that top side, making all the plays happen. It was very much quick and in control of KT out of the gate in the first game.
And like, we're used to the slip up from KT, right? We've seen them get these big leads, 13k leads against T1 that they have thrown and lost games from. Never looked back, not even a single kill for T1. And yeah, game 2 was closer, but really it was still domination out of KT, and this thing got off the rails. I mean, Perfect, who picked up player of the series, by the way, deservedly so. First that Jace game, and then that's the most impactful Vayne top that I've seen in 2026. I'll say it flat out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be for a while until you see a Vayne find a way to make those plays that we saw in this game too. And it really is one of these ones where I think you saw a much more focused effort from T1, but still, given the situation, given the draft and power that was able to be in the hands of the right people for KT, specifically the Annie for BDD, which, by the way, been a few weeks or so since we've seen Annie be able to take over a game like this and have the damage that she was having, but in the hands of BDD, more than capable, and absolutely one of the reasons why T1 steps away from this series as the loser on the day.
This was looking like prime Deathfire grasp Annie, absolutely one-shotting Faker and anyone who was nearby throughout. And yeah, Owner gets some nice smites, he has some good objective steals, but that doesn't hide the fact that your boy was 0, 11, and 6 across these two games.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, again, sure, there's maybe the silver lining of some of those smites coming through for you, but very much the performance, the decision-making, some of those actions, not up to the level that it needs to be from Owner and what we expect from him, not only as his individual player, but within T1 and what he facilitates for that organization. You didn't see that on the day. This, it feels a little bit like an April Fool's joke type of one from the LCK coming on through with KT taking this, but you absolutely can't take anything away from their performance but the good and what they were able to do today. And a feeling of disappointment on T1 for this is the showing that you got after all that time away. Whether as far as the players individually, and it's kind of strange to put this in an esports perspective because it's only seemingly one on the physical side of traditional sports where you go, they seem to sleep at the switch, right? Where you're just behind the play every single time. It's hard to kind of, translate that feeling into a digital esport type of game. But that's how it seemed in this one for T1, so that not only the players seemingly asleep at the switch in a lot of these situations, chasing the game, chasing the pace of play, and then as well, you look at the draft and the handle on that, and I think that was another avenue that T1 missed. And unfortunately, when you suffer the fate that you did in the first split, you're not given that leniency and breathing room to start out the next split around. And that's what you see here with people, again, being, probably more critical than they need to be over this one dropped series from T1.
That's now 3 drop series in a row if we go back to the playoffs in the LCK Cup. But how about an extra shout out here? We were talking about the supports last split with KT. You're going, man, we miss Peter because this is rough. Your boy Effort. That's right, T1 Effort coming back. And actually, that second game, the synergy between him and Cuz on these, it looked like they had the Orianna in their team with how well timed these wild growths were on the Nocturne.
I think that's one of the important things moving forward if you are KT Rollsters. Again, how do you envision building upon this? Because simply getting a win in the telecom war is not enough to really hang your hat on for the year. You got to try and, achieve other things. And that happens with other players stepping up on this roster and outside of the names that we talk a lot about and BDD, Cuz, again, even in this series, perfect in the top side. But having the bottom lane, aiming and effort, and having that synergy and cohesion down there is obviously going to be a big part of any success for this team moving forward. So again, some good signs here to move away from and take into your next series if you are KT Rollster, despite any type of little asterisks you want to throw on here for being the first game of Split 2.
And I've seen this song and dance, this rodeo, too many times to actually be legitimately concerned for T1, for game series 1 of this split. It's more so, we just spent last episode talking about the top 5 in the LCK, and can KT really be close to a D plus or, even a Nongshim? And this series to me is more, okay, KT, I see you kind of having the potential that we still thought you had last split to step up into that next tier.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely the real takeaway from this one. I think any, envisioning that this is the downward slope for T1 and they're going to slide further and farther away from what would have, again, the emergency 4th spot for the LCK. I doubt it, which, by the way, can't be the 4th seed world champion of the LCK without dropping a couple series. So maybe that's part of the whole magic here for
that's
T1.
the sweet spot. It's just coming early this year.
I don't think that's really the story, but I think right now, yes, any type of, sweeping overreactions are going to be just that, an overreaction. But it's one of those situations where you can understand people making that overreaction, trying to leap to some conclusions because, again, this is the performance that you've got after a month and a half or so away from the main stage.
And that, we see teams all the time not really either take advantage of that break or just... Scrims aren't the same as stage games in terms of practice, so fully expect T1. We've seen them slide in 6th into playoffs and then go all the way to finals or win it. So don't be panicking about T1 just yet. There was more to prove for a squad that was playing a weaker team in the battle for 10th place from the LCK Cup. Hanwha Life, 2 months. 1 month is one thing we haven't seen T1. 2 months since we've seen Hanwha Life on the Rift, and they delivered a pretty swift, convincing 2-0. No upsets on the day against Freddie Brion. But how about seeing Gumayushi win a game on Ezreal? Whoa, okay.
Pretty good to see some of that action coming on through as well. And yes, this was a good series from Hanwha Life. It's hard to judge how much you want to stock or faith you want to put into this project, again, given that it is only the Brion squad and what you got through at this point, and terrorizing Loki, thinking that, he's left North America, no more APA in the Ziggs mid lane, and boom, Zeka drops it on him in game 2. Right here it is, and even better, it's Guma not having to pilot the Ziggs.
Well, that's the only way they're winning is if Guma's not playing.
It's got to be in the contract. Had to have been one of those things saying, no Ziggs duty for me. Please get that one out of here. But very much a happy result for Hanwha Life, and one of those ones that sets us up for that big matchup on the weekend with them and T1. This is, again, of course, going to be Hanwha Life with that head-to-head, but very much so about, can T1 get that bounce back? I think that is where the attitude is going to shift towards, and seeing these type of performances. And right now, from Hanwha Life, you answered a lot of the questions, a lot of the verifications that you wanted to see on the on-Rift product after that time away. But it's only going to be so good until we see who is really the strong contender on the other side in a T1, in a Gen G, in the teams that will be at the top end.
I mean, you saw, case in point, after the series win, Hanwha Life, the reaction from the players, obviously feeling what happened in the LCK Cup, but they looked like they were the ones who lost the series, not even a smile breaking out. It's just the bros. It's series one, week one. They're full redemption arc business to get through. And I will say this series, Kanavi on the Pantheon was absolutely insane, running the Rift early on. And even the second game, he starts 0-3 on Xin Zhao and still has massive impact. But we're talking back-to-back series where a team is able to get Rise and Pantheon on their squad. And that usually means you're going to win.
It's a problem within the draft. I will say that especially that Xin Zhao game was really impressive for me, because that's one of those ones where you get behind on that champion, finding a way to have an impact, have that type of flavor for your team is a hard task to do and hard moments to find. So absolutely credit over there for that. And I think that when you are looking at this series again, this is a Hanwha Life that, no matter what our expectations were and everything else, the reality was they were the 10th place team in the LCK last split. So very much so a needed course correction to start out split number 2.
And the low-key biggest win for Split 2 is it's not the LCK Cup. This feels like the actual first split of the LCK because you get a proper teaser video with the team strutting around and the cool font for the squads, the camera looks. That's what we know and love the LCK to be all about.
It seems small, seems insignificant, but these are the type of things that actually matter to the overall presentation of the product, of the package that you are delivering, and getting yourself involved in all these little things and all the things that go around with it, which includes getting our hype intro video. So very much so happy to see that one return in the LCK.
And honestly, the results now, after today, you're like, I mean, we were expecting probably a 1-0 and 1-0 Hanwha Life and T1 to match up over the weekend, but now, yucky performance out of T1 and a stomp from Hanwha, all of a sudden you're going, well, either way, there's going to be big overreactions, because either way, you're looking at a 0-2 start for T1, and everyone will start panicking, or you see Hanwha Life lose to T1, who just got bodied, and you go, what's wrong with HLE?
That's the thing. This has become even more impactful than you could have thought of, and it already was going to be the most impactful match of the weekend for the LCK when you're looking at this one. And either way, you assumed, again, 1-0 squads meeting up, and yes, you'll have the test of strength against each other, but you're still in good position, still moving on, whatever. Now it could be a situation where T1 is either 0-2, or you get back to 1-1, and it's a Hanwha Life that loses to a T1 that just dropped a series to KT Rolster, as you laid out. Yes, it is absolutely going to feed into a lot of the narratives, even more so at this early point in the LCK.
And that's my favorite part early on in seasons, is the sweeping overreactions that we and everybody else will have within the LCK with those top dog, incredibly high expectation squads like T1, like Hanwha Life. Unfortunately, Gen G's even in the news still when they're not playing on the Rift, and this has kind of been a couple days in the making now, but now it's kind of everywhere, and that is Ruler being in a little bit of hot water for some tax evasion, tax issue things going on in South Korea. And obviously this is something people have harped on. It's kind of a common thing to see athletes in North America get in trouble for tax issues, but it's a different beast entirely in Korea, where the standards are so much higher, and I mean the discipline and the faux pas of doing that is such a higher level. So we're looking at Ruler potentially being in some actual trouble, and this isn't the first time this has happened. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty, but essentially his father is his manager and handles all his finances, but his investments are in his father's name, not Ruler's, so not so good in terms of, the National Tax Service over there in South Korea, so they're heavily investigating this. Now the LCK is investigating it, and the end result might actually be Ruler missing minor time or significant time on Gen G.
Well, it's a big deal internationally, of course, and I mean, in any country or region type of thing, as far as the tax evasion and not paying them and whatever, but especially in Korea, where it has been more so a thing about that celebrity, about the upper class finding ways out of it. It has become a very hot topic to try and persecute, try and get these people that are trying to skirt the bounds. Now, is that what we think is really going on here? There's so much to sift through. Never mind, it's not really our position or jobs to sift through these type of things. But from the outside understanding is, yes, as you laid out, it has to deal with Ruler's family, his father representing him as his player agent. And that's one of those things where, again, I just want to make the comment that it's so unfortunate, and I don't know whether, again, it's from malicious intent or whatnot, but just these situations that seemingly come up through traditional sports and esports where you seemingly can't trust anybody outside of someone that you are paying just on the outside perspective of doing this job for you type of thing. Because unfortunately, when you get family involved, you do get things like this, and it becomes a lot messier. And I think that is the situation that we are dealing with now with Ruler. He has come out and made a public, statement about this type of thing and apologizing, for the distraction and everything else. But this is going to be something that will hang over as a cloud over not only Ruler, but Gen G as well for the next coming weeks. And is something that unless there's a positive, real, happy, sunlight, starry ending out of it, I think that this could be something that derails a lot of the success that Gen G could have this year.
And we know how these processes go. Like, they're not going to sort this out tomorrow or by week 2. This is going to take weeks, and you might be talking about Ruler missing time later in the year as we get closer to Worlds. But this is very different than some of the stories you've seen in traditional sports where it's a family member, like, legit just stealing money, right? This seems like it's more his father was in this role, and maybe they misunderstood how to file some of these taxes, what category it is, whose name it should be under. Even if it is, and it sounds like to me, again, personal opinion, that this was a legit mistake, even though they've kind of done the same mistake twice. That might be a little fishy, but that doesn't really matter in the eyes of the tax man. It's, you've done it wrong, doesn't matter if it's a mistake, you will be punished heavily. And the LCK has specific clauses about players being investigated for anything related to tax, and that means they will have an outside third-party non-esport investigation looking into this.
And this is front page news in Korea. This is like, full on coverage. This is as if, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, whatever, North American, international superstar athlete you want to throw in there. It's of that type of level in that region and where they're covering it and talking about it. And you better believe that not only the LCK, but Riot Games and Tencent are going to be involved as far as the image of what is going on in their esports and things like that. So, yes, this is going to be a very seriously considered situation right now, despite, I think, kind of, avenues that you could see it not playing out as seriously or having as much of an effect. I think it will. I think that is the avenue then and current, setting that we are pacing ourselves towards at this situation.
And 2 more angles that are not boding well or in the right path for Ruler is Worry Bank is the main major sponsor of the LCK, one of the 4 national banks in South Korea. So anything finance, tax that's sketchy, the LCK is going to have to come down hard with that as their major sponsor. And I've seen people also talking about the government is kind of looking for ways to rewrite having military exemption for Asian Games gold medal, which is something Ruler has. And if there's something, he seems like the perfect poster boy to kind of change or make a statement in regards to that. I'm not going to say that they're going to take that away from him or anything. He won the gold medal, rightfully so. But it feels like there's a lot of things going against Ruler in more ways than one on this case.
It's very much so a case that has picked up steam rapidly in the last 1 or 2 days, kind of hearing some rumblings about it and kind of going, oh, well, that's probably not that big a deal.
Pay the fine and it's all good, right?
Yeah, maybe that's something that gets, sorted out, whatever, behind the scenes, and it'll be fine. This is not going to be fine. This is something that will be right at the forefront as far as taking energy, taking emotion, taking all sorts of things out of Ruler and the rest of Gen G to get through this period. Absolutely a crazy turn in all of the stories that you could have envisioned about what is this Gen G front-running squad in the LCK.
And some of the comparables are, different K-pop guys, famous actors who have had much bigger cases, in the millions that we're talking about, being involved in taxes. Not quite the same level that Ruler's at, but it's like a career ender for them outside of esports. So that's what's at stake. Again, not saying that's going to be the case for Ruler, but as this gets dragged on for weeks and he has to deal with questions, Gen G has to deal with questions, absolutely can be enough to kind of take a team down a peg.
And it's one of those ones where, again, different culture, different type of thing. It's taken extremely seriously and very differently over in Asia as far as tax evasion and what your contribution, what your requirement is to society, to the community, these type of things. Tax evasion is very serious there. It's not simply, oh, you got away with it, you got extra money in your pocket, good for you. You skipped out on the IRS, the government, whatever. That's not the way that it is treated there. So this is going to absolutely be a big time story. And it's one of those ones where you got to keep your finger on the pulse here because it'll change rapidly.
And according to LCK rules, they can't just bring in a mercenary if he does miss time. It's got to be somebody from the academy that's going to be promoted up to replace him. And listen, look no further than off the Rift drama affecting teams than Top Esports. Just as they're getting players back, now we're hearing 369. He says it's issues with his performance and he feels he needs some time to adjust. But there ain't no way all this Nahu drama, who he was trying to defend, didn't have an impact on your boy 369.
Which that might be the worst bounce out of this whole situation, is that your boy 369 is having to deal with the mental anguish of trying to support this guy who was backstabbing all the time behind it. It's like when you play Among Us with your friends and you're like, I swear that guy, they're not the imposter. They cannot be. They're the imposter all along.
Vehemently defending him to everybody else.
And it feels so bad because, again, you were doing it honestly, doing it out of a position of good faith, goodwill, and it comes back to bite you, and it's one of these embarrassing situations. So I can understand 369 wanted to take some time away. It's unfortunate, I think, for not only him individually, but as well for the organization in Top Esports, where we thought, okay, after all that, we're going to get a bounce back of Tian coming in the jungle, and Jackie Love is back. This is fantastic. 369 is taking his time away, and I think, rightfully so, given what mental state he could be in at this point. It's one of those ones where you hope for the best from him and understanding that it is, again, a very different situation than what's going on with Gen G and the specifics of it.
And all of a sudden, it's only Cream, really, that's returning from last split in the LPL for TES. So big change over there. We'll see how it ends up playing out. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, Stunners. Thanks for hanging out, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.